What up, Wastelanders? Christopher here, Gaslands NorCal. Thanks for joining me once again for another conversion video. Now, I was going to do another war rig build, but I'm waiting for some special stuff to print off on my 3D printer, so that may need to wait for a little bit. So, looking through my boxes and bins of different castings and stuff, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for my next projects, I came across the Fast and Furious, the entire set of these builds. So I thought, you know what? Why not do all of them all at once, and we'll see what we come up with. I'm going to strip down most of them. I'm going to leave the orange one right there because that one has got a special paint job and everything going on, so I'll leave that one. Strip off probably the headlights and everything to get those looking more realistic and stuff. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do this time. We are going to do the entire Fast and Furious box all at once. So first things first, we gotta get these babies apart, get them in the stripper. Alright, so we're all primed up in the white. I'm really liking this Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl primer. Got the white, the gray, and the black. The gray was a little bit dark for me, so I wanted to try out the white. Really smooth, loving how it's turned out. Yeah, very smooth. So now when I do a large group of builds, which I normally do, I like to do a transitional painting. And what I mean by that is I'll start off with one color and I'll do one build and then drop a few drops of a different color into the mix and do the next one and so forth and so on. So we're going to do blue on these ones, and we're going to start with the gray blue, then move on over to the turquoise. Next we're going to go on to the bright jade, can't really see that, and then finally we're going to change it up and do some faded ultramarine. We'll see how all those turned out. Now I don't like to do them all in one color unless I'm doing like a team build or something, which sometimes I'll do, but we're going to do a transitional blue and see how it goes. So let's get these all painted up and then we will move on and see where you go from there with the wheels and weapons and stuff. So let's get it painted. Alright, so we're all painted up, and as you can see, it's a transition from the blue-gray, gray-blue, all the way down to the faded ultramarine. Got a little bit different shade with each casting. Now, several reasons that I do this for. One, it just makes it easier for me to do a large group of casts at one time. It saves on like the decision process on which one I'm going to paint each vehicle, because I've got a lot of different colors and just get stuck with, you know, which choice to make. But also it helps with cleaning. I only have to clean my airbrush once as opposed to cleaning it every single time, so I don't get anything bleeding over from one color to the next, because that's what I want it to do, to bleed over one color to the next. Now next we're going to move on and do some grunging with the Agrax, and that will change the shade a little bit as well, make it a little bit darker obviously, because that's what the Agrax is intended to do. So let's get these things grunged up. We'll see what color they're looking like afterwards and see what else we want to do with them before we start getting them back together and putting wheels and weapons on them. So yeah, let's get to grunging. Grunge is all dried up, the Agrax rather. So if you watch, you know, the fast forward part when I added the Agrax, you can see that I put it on there and then I let it sit, but you didn't really see that because I fast forwarded it. Let it sit a little bit to kind of like sink in so you can actually see the grime and everything. And then I wiped it off with these really cheap Amazon makeup brushes. They work really well. They're cheap as hell. They come in a big bag, so I really like to use those for all sorts of different things, not just wiping off the grunge, but also when I'm doing water slide decals to soak up any kind of moisture that's left over once they get set on there. So even got the super all scuffed up a little bit and grunged up. So next we're going to move on to the chipping with the chipping solution from MIG. I'm going to use the sponge technique that I always use. get a little bit of the chipping on the sponge, dab it on a paper towel so there's only a little specks coming up, and then just dab it over the high areas so it looks like the paint's all chipped up. So we're going to get that done on all of these, and then we'll see where we're at and see what we're going to do next as far as like the wheels and weapons and whatnot, and get them all together. So let's get some chipping going on. Alright, so we're all chipped up and ready to go. Everything's looking pretty cool. Still got some of this silver shiny stuff going on. I'm going to paint over that in black when I spray all of them. Got the wheels and everything picked out. Dremeled out the top of the engine area for this one. Found a new engine for them. That one's going to look pretty cool. So got the wheels and everything. The lift kits are going to be going in on some of them. So we're going to get all of the stuff primed up in black. Get the silver all blacked out on the interior as well. And then we will go from there. But yeah, 5 at a time. It's a lot, but we're getting done. So let's get some black going on. Alright, so we're all grunged up and together and everything, got the wheels and stuff going on. I did come up with an idea of what I'm going to be calling these things, because they did start off as the Fast and the Furious. Now they are going to be the Rowdy and the Redneck. Looking a lot more redneck with everything all jacked up and everything, getting everything all chipped up and everything. To make them even more redneck, I'm going to take some random paint colors and color the some of the doors, maybe the trunks, maybe some hoods and stuff, just to make it look like they were all pieced together and whatnot. Got the weapons and the rams and everything picked out for all these things. Gonna get them all back together after we get everything all painted up. So yeah, for 5 builds at one time, it's quite a chore, but we're getting it done, so let's continue on. Alright, so everything is all together, looking very cool. Got all the weapons and the rams and everything put on there. Did some of the coloration for the different doors and trunks and hoods and everything to make it a little bit more kind of redneck wastelands looking. These things are looking pretty badass. So next I'm going to go through and I'm just going to dry brush some dust on them to get all the little nooks and crannies to pop out, to see what I need to work on next before I go through and start doing the rust and the corrosion and everything and get these things all finished up. But yeah, looking pretty badass, looking very much more Rowdy and Redneck instead of Fast and Furious. So let's get some dust going on, and then we'll take a look at what we need to do next. But yeah, looking cool. Alrighty, so now on to the final step. We're just going to do some rusting on these things, and then these things will be good to go. Looking great, loving how they transition so well from the Fast and the Furious to Rowdy and Redneck. I think pulling off Redneck pretty well. Love that custom wooden ram. That should last really long in the Wastelands. I like that I didn't change this one up too much. Kept the paint job super looking good. Rams are from Anvil are always awesome, just big and beefy. And finally get this one all rusted up and they'll be good to go. But yeah, loving it. Let's get them rusted and we'll take some glamour shots. Let's do it. Alright, and there we have it. 5 Fast and Furious vehicles taken from Fast and Furious to Rowdy and Redneck. Going from this, you can see all of them, to these. We've got the Aston Martin, looking pretty badass. Loving that custom ram and everything that's on there. Love the little fin thing. Not really sure what it's for, but hey, it looks cool. Next, moving on to the 70 Dodge Charger RT with some missiles and machine gun and everything. Got a cool ram and stuff. Loving how that one turned out. Next, we got the Supra. I did not strip this one, as you can see. I like the paint job. Wanted to keep it on there. I love this ram, though. It's an exploding ram that's got mines on the front, so that is really cool. Got the machine gun on top. Next is the Chevelle, the one that was driven by the main guy. I don't remember his name. Got the weapons and everything. Cool ram. Love these wheels. Turned out really cool. And finally got the Mustang 67 Custom. Love these lift kits coming from We Play Games. The ram from Anvil. Yeah, the weapons on all of these, I believe, were from Warlock 3D. It's got some KC lights on top for some of them to give it even more of a redneck feel. So yeah, doing 5 builds at once, it is kind of daunting. It takes a little more time, but it's basically the same thing, just waiting for stuff to dry, just waiting for it on 5 vehicles instead of 1. So yeah, had a great time. They turned out really awesome. Really pleased with how they turned out. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, do me a favor, hit that like button. My goal is to do weekly videos, whether they're vehicle builds, terrain builds, battle reports, whatever. So if that's for you, hit the sub button below and ring the bell to get notified when new content drops. I do sell all my builds pretty inexpensively on my Etsy page, so if you want to pick something up, see what else I've done, you can even request a custom build. If you'd really like to show some love, head on over to my Patreon page and get signed up. Every little bit helps keep the paint flowing, the printer printing, and the camera rolling. Until next time, keep your foot on the pedal and your finger on the trigger. Gaslands NorCal, signing out.